vape. I vape. I vape. I vape.
And it gets your face like warmed up.
Super serious.
Where nothing fun or funny ever happens.
This is a super serious thing.
I don't even like dogs.
Super serious.
Fun.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Super Serious Dog Podcast. And this is weird, but on a super serious note, this is the last episode.
This is it, guys.
This is it. This
Probably.
is the end.
This is probably the end. This is the end for the foreseeable. Foreseeable.
foreseeable.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous on the podcast for like the first time in a long time. Yeah, because goodbyes are hard.
Goodbyes are weird and hard. So we mentioned this on our Patreon, on our last Patreon episode, but not on this episode. So the reason for that is all good things have to come to an end. We got to keep y'all wanting more. No. Courtney has some really exciting news to share. I'm obviously pregnant and going on maternity leave soon. But it's just kind of like a good time to just put a pin in it. We may come back. We may do something totally different in the future. We may move on with our lives and never do a podcast ever again. Who knows, right? And just kind of on that note, we're going to kind of talk about fears and insecurities and uncertainty and how we deal with that and all that. But first, I want Courtney to share her super serious, super exciting news.
Guys, I did a thing. I did a big thing. I bought a house. I bought a house on 14 acres. Yeah.
14 fucking acres, y'all.
14 fucking acres.
Her dreams are coming true.
It's got a creek. It's just so wonderful. I've dreamt of this property for as long as I can remember. And I fucking bought it, guys. So the shitty thing is that I get shitty internet out there. So that's why the podcast is ending.
Now versus in 2 months.
Yeah,
when I pop out a baby.
right. We're just gonna go and wrap it up now because the internet's gonna be real shit out there. But it's worth it because I got fucking 14 acres and I am so excited and terrified. But really excited. Really excited. But terrified.
Also terrified.
Also fucking terrified.
How many panic attacks have you had this week?
Dude, that's not even something I can count. Like I don't know what to tell you. It's been a rough couple of weeks because it's an insane market. So the fact that we pulled this off was oh my gosh. And with a house on 14 acres, there comes some bad news. So not only having shitty internet, but hey, this really awesome barn that you want to do seminars in was wired by some 85-year-old guy. And so it might blow up. So problem solving those things, fixing fences, building fences, all kinds of fun stuff. Oh my God. Bugs, dude, the bugs. So many different kinds of bugs. Some of the scariest bugs I've ever fucking seen.
Are you gonna get scorpions out there?
Oh, definitely. I'm definitely gonna get scorpions. I haven't seen any yet, but everybody's warned me. Snakes and scorpions.
Scorpions aren't that bad because just watch out around water sources and kind of modify a few things. Don't leave piles of laundry on the ground, for instance, right? But there's also things you can do to prevent them, murder them in droves using a black light at night. That's one way.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to hate me for that one. You should never hurt a bug. Yeah, well, I got stung by one in my sleep, so fuck that. I fully support a murder.
I honestly murdered a lot of bugs today. I bought some toxic stuff because I'm not living there yet, and I just went to town and I murdered every bug within 6 feet of the house.
There's non-toxic stuff you can do too. Once you're living
for sure,
there,
I have a lot of non-toxic stuff. And to be fair, I grew up on 10 acres. I am familiar with country living. I was stung by plenty of scorpions and wasps as a child. So I do know what I'm getting into. It's just that I haven't lived on land since I was
young,
and I'm older now, and now it's all my responsibility. When you're a kid living on land, it's just kind of like a fun wonderland, and now it's a fun wonderland with a lot of responsibility. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, because now it's all yours.
it's all mine. Yeah.
Ain't nobody dealing with shit except you.
Except me.
and Jay.
Well, yeah. Yeah. It's going to be a team effort for sure.
What kind of stuff do you hope to? Because obviously this is a big step for you, but it's for your business mostly.
It is. It is. It's
So-
for, yeah.
So what are you most excited about doing? You mentioned seminars and being
Yeah.
able to host people and things.
Yeah. So I got a really awesome space to host classes, seminars, train dogs in. It's nice and enclosed. I have a lot of land, open land with trees and a lot of land without trees.
Hiking.
So I plan to do some hiking. I plan to have different yards for like enrichment and then socialization. I plan to get
So awesome.
goats and do some
Duckies.
herding stuff. I plan to get ducks. I plan to probably get rats also and do barn hunt.
Do you ever like want to have a dock?
Yes, I have thought about having a dock. So I have I have ponds right now,
Right.
but I have thought about. I mean, and this is far off in the future because these
Right.
pools are fucking expensive. And
Are they really? I've never
Yeah.
looked into the price, but I assume they are. I mean,
I mean, I think
You have
they're
to
like
build
at
the whole
least
thing.
$50,000.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, you have
And
to build the whole deck structure
the whole
and like
deck
a ramp and,
all
everything.
the water
and-
that it takes to fill it, like, and then maintaining it and keeping it clean. Which I know a guy who knows a lot about pools, and it takes a lot to keep water clean outside. Like pools are really hard to maintain.
And you can't just do chlorine for stuff like that because
Right,
it's dogs
right.
swimming and drinking
Right.
it. You can't tell a dog not to drink it. Like they're going
Right.
to try because they're fucking dogs
Yeah.
and it's hot outside.
Right. But yeah, I have thought about that in the future. Yeah, my plan is to make it just like the ultimate connect with your dog place.
Yeah.
I also plan to have cabins out there so that people can, when they come for seminars, they can stay out there, and I can Airbnb it when I'm not doing seminars. Because
Yeah, hell yeah.
fucking money. You gotta get that
Yeah, money, baby. and you're in such a good spot too. Like you're right between two, like one huge city and another growing city. So it's awesome because you'll get people from both sides,
Yeah.
and anybody in between who currently like, I don't want to drive all the way to Austin for training or whatever.
Right.
So
Right.
awesome.
Yeah, I want it to be a place where people can connect with their dogs and themselves and
Sure.
like feel something
Right.
good with their dog and themselves. I have kind of this idea for workshops I want to do where people come and stay for like 3 to 5 days, and I have like the whole thing coordinated, and we do like yoga and have food and like learn about yourself and your dog. It's just like this magical thing.
Sounds very concrete.
Oh yeah, it's a super firm idea I have.
I mean, first step is you got to move into the fucking place.
Exactly. Like I got to move there first. I've been working. I've had these ideas for years.
Right.
They've been so far off because I was never going to get land. I was never actually
You
going to
almost
get
did
14.
once, and then you dodged a bullet because the lady ended up being.
Yeah, that was last year. I think I talked about it on the podcast last
May
year.
have.
Yeah, I was going to get like an acre and have an enrichment center. And it was
the
gonna be
lady ended up
magical.
going back on a lot of things and being like, I never agreed to any of this stuff. And we're
Yeah,
like,
she was nuts. She was nuts.
So dodged a bullet for sure.
Yeah, I actually have been I've been practicing gratitude, right? So one of the things I'm grateful for is that property did not work out, because had that property worked out, I would never have been where I am now
Right.
and where I'm going. And I'm really excited about this. So yeah, and it's mine. I don't have some crazy lady that's going to be
Yeah.
like, "Nah, nah."
Yeah, it's yours. You know what else I'm grateful for, Courtney? Our listeners.
I am grateful for our listeners as well, because they're the reason we kept doing this.
I know.
A lot of times, like, I don't know about you, Misha, but there were days when I was like, I don't necessarily want to talk on a podcast that people are going to listen to. No offense, people that listened. I'm just a very introverted person, and I keep my opinions to myself a lot. So doing this podcast was a big step for me personally, to say stuff and put it out there and
Be vulnerable.
be vulnerable. So thank you guys, thank y'all, everyone that
Yeah.
listened, because you helped me. So thank you. I really,
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Like, even though I'm extroverted as fuck, like, still, I still had the same feeling of like, I don't know what I'm gonna talk about today. And then we just do it and we find things and people message us and they're like, that was an amazing episode. I loved it. Or I get feedback from a client. In fact, I fucking have clients that are like already super qualified to be my client and know my style because they've listened to the podcast first.
That's awesome.
So it's been a very interesting and amazing journey for sure. And I too am grateful for it because honestly, doing this kept me sane for the first chunk of the year. Like when everything was just whatever the fuck this last year was and constantly changing.
It was
and whatever
the thing we showed up for.
Is the thing that was consistent.
It was the only thing that was consistent.
Yeah, because work was inconsistent. What I did was inconsistent, even for work. Like it changed all the time. And like this was the one thing that we had. It was every week on this day at this time, like we're doing it. And we might have to reschedule or whatever, but like we did it. We committed. And it was definitely a big boon for my mental sanity. For sure. And you know, like we didn't think anybody would fucking listen. We didn't think we'd do it for more than like a month or something. We'd be like, this is dumb.
So I think we made it over a year. It's pretty impressive.
I know. A lot of episodes.
Yeah.
I lost count of how many we've done. I'm sure we could go through and count. But
this is our 48th free episode. I have it here in the
shit.
notes.
There you go. So that means we've almost got 100 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We're four shy.
Ah, damn.
Because you're counting, I'm doubling
Yeah, because for every
Patreon.
episode we did a Patreon episode.
Patreon. Yeah.
Yep.
For the most part. Almost 100. We almost had a centennial. That's all right.
Shucks. Maybe we'll come back and do 4. And then we'll be like, okay, now bye for real.
Just kidding. Yeah, who knows? There's going to be a screaming child in the background and it'll just be chaos. And I'll be like, what were we talking about?
I'll be all glitchy.
Yeah. But you know, this whole last year, there was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of different fears. Now, with the podcast ending and with like big things on the horizon for me, big things on the horizon for Courtney, obviously, like we have panic attacks sometimes, y'all. We're terrified of certain things, not of the same things. So we want to talk a little bit about fear and just from like our own human perspective, we'll relate it to dogs and stuff, but like, yeah, Courtney has a whole new bag of problems that she didn't think she would have this quickly. I'm definitely I know roughly what to expect with a kid because I get it. Kids have specific needs, but like, not really. I haven't lived it, right? I've lived pieces of it. Courtney's lived on land, but she was a kid and she wasn't responsible for taking care of that land.
Right.
She was a fucking kid.
Right.
You got to do kid shit and play with ponies.
Right. Like I had responsibilities, like with quotes, you know, but like if I didn't do them, someone else was going to do them. You know what I mean? Probably.
Yeah. Or you just got reprimanded.
Or I just got in trouble and then I had to do it. So
yeah. But it wasn't like, oh, we're turning off your power. Got it.
Right. Or like, hey, this is overflowing because you didn't turn it off and now it's a big problem. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, I have to pay attention to that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's this whole well system that I have to know about how, like, I know what these knobs do. I've learned so much, like through the panic attacks that I've been having. I've learned so much about stuff that I never thought I would be learning about, like how wells work, and how septic systems work. And I'm actually learning it because it's like, I need to know this information. So I've been taking it. You know, like with the podcast and with you having a baby and with me doing what I'm doing, there's this thing where like you're terrified, but you still keep taking steps forward. You show up anyway. And it's like, oh, I am freaking out, but I'm here.
We can't back out now.
Yeah, there is no going backwards. So like you just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
This thing inside of me, it's here. It's here. You signed the paperwork.
I signed the papers. It's done. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, and like that can be, even if it's a change that you didn't expect. Like obviously Lee and I were trying to have a kid. We wanted to have a kid. Right. But even if I didn't, right, like there's still steps that you have to take. You have to go forward. There's no way out of this forest that we're in. We just have to keep going. And it is going to be scary, and there is going to be bad days, and there are going to be times where you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
And that's okay. Everyone I've checked with, they all say, yeah, that's definitely part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
Is that's fear. You're afraid, and that's okay.
Yep. And so if you have a dog with fear issues, or if you are afraid of something happening with your dog, like let's say your dog was attacked, or you got this dog from the shelter and you're way in over your head and you're like, this is not the dog that I was promised, or maybe this dog got comfortable enough to show its true colors. And now you have it, you've made a commitment. You've bonded with it. You don't necessarily want to send it back to the system that may fail it, right? What do you do, right? What do? You take steps, you show up for the dog, you hire a trainer, you do your fucking homework. And even though it's hard, and even though it's fucking scary sometimes, of being like, when the trainer says, hey, your homework this week, I know you're terrified, but you're going to take your dog to a store. And this is how you're going to set your dog up for success. You're not going to go inside that store. You're going to hang out in the parking lot, and you're going to do these things, right? There's a reason that your trainer is telling you to do that, or whatever that next scary step may be, right? Because it's time. You have to, the only way to get over those anxieties and those fears is to just confront them and just fucking do it. If it's something that you care about, if it's something that you really want to do, or if it's just something that you found yourself in, you got to do it.
Forward is usually the only way through it. And you don't have to rush forward. You don't have to, like Misha said, like you're going to start in the parking lot. You're not going fucking in the store and up to every person you see, right? You're taking the steps you can. You're doing what you can in the season you're in, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's all we can do, right?
Yep.
Is the best we can. Just going to show up and have as much of my cup full as possible.
And one thing that one of the things that I learned from doing one of my pregnancy homework things was, a lot of times people are like, whatever happens, happens, right? They say that, right? And it's an avoidant behavior.
Yep.
Right? Because if you don't think about the possibility of bad things happening, well, then you don't have to worry about it. But what if that bad thing does happen, right? And I'm not saying like wallow in your fear and overthink things, but
it's okay to feel it.
Have catastrophic thinking. However, right? Like when it comes to giving birth, like I could say I want this type of birth and I don't want to use an epidural and I want there to be fucking candles and I want a nice doctor. Well, what if the hospital's like, no, you can't have fucking candles. There's oxygen. You can't do that. And my doctor's an asshole and I have some medical complication, right? And I can't, that's not, my plan is totally out the fucking window and I'm in pain, right? And I have to confront those things and I have to think, okay, well, what if that does happen? What does that say about me? What am I really worried about? Like, why am I so against these things happening? Or why do I really not want that to happen? And really at the end of the day, it's like, well, because A, I want the best possible experience, but like B, like labor fucking sucks no matter what. Working with a reactive or an aggressive dog sucks no matter what. All right. And so being able to kind of focus on the things that you can control, which is your attitude in the moment, is going to be much more important, right? And being able to think like, okay, if that does happen, what do I need in that moment? What if the doctor says you have preeclampsia, which is this like high blood pressure thing that can cause seizures and all kinds of problems for baby and that kind of thing? What if that happens? Am I going to fucking just cry and be like, well, no baby for me? No, I'm going to adjust my plan, right? It's going to happen. What happens if Courtney moves into her property and her septic tank fucking explodes week 1? She's going to deal with it.
Gonna have to deal with that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And she can cry. And don't get me wrong, you could totally cry and have your emotions and have your worries and your fears, but really evaluate like, where are those coming from, right? In that moment. And what do you need to do to yourself in that moment to get yourself through it? Is it a pep talk? Is it just a breathing exercise? Is it calling your trainer, right? Like, I'm about to go into the store and I'm panicking, right? Like, whatever you fucking need in that moment, if you can prepare for that. And especially if your trainer's just like, just go, right? Well, then that's not very helpful, right? But knowledge is power. So being aware of what might happen, what you would do if something does, quote, go wrong or not the way you expect it to, right? Having a backup plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a plan B at least.
Yeah.
If not a plan C as well.
Yeah.
Because of having
have
that
a couple
knowledge.
of open-ended plans. Like, I will do one of these 5 things.
Yep. Dude, Courtney and I can tell you when we go train dogs at like the Domain which is like a big outdoor mall here, or Home Depot or a park or whatever, we got all kinds of plans. And
yep.
How often would you say you actually do what you set out to do?
Oh, not very often.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because you got to work on what comes up. And you got to work with what happens.
After years of practice, I have gotten really good at just working in the moment with dogs. I have like a vague plan of what like I hope to accomplish, but I know that there are other things that are going to come up, and especially with like certain types of dogs, I don't have a plan at all. I'm like, we're gonna go here, and we're just gonna figure it out together.
Yeah. So when it comes to fear, it helps to have knowledge, right? It helps to have a plan. It helps to have an expectation, right? So then you kind of know like of possibilities, right? Different expectations. But you also can't be too specific. And that's kind of what we're getting at, right? Is you can't be like, I'm going to get a 30-minute down from my fearful dog as people, walk past, because it's probably going to be really slow today because it's rainy. And then you get there and your dog is like, holy shit, there's 1,000 people here and nobody cares about the rain. And I suddenly have the shits and I'm really uncomfortable. What are you going to do?
You need to give up on that 30-minute down.
That's not happening. That's not happening. You need to focus on just engagement or figuring out why your dog has the shits potentially. Yeah. Right. Maybe
the shits are the most concerning part of that.
Right. Exactly. What did they eat that day, etc. Or is it just they're just stressed out? Yeah. Maybe this was too much for them. Maybe you should have parked further away, right? Or just it was too whatever, right? Being able to adapt and being able to have a more loose plan is going to be much more helpful.
Yeah. I have been shifting into that gear as I start to go out to the property more often and work on stuff. And I'm like, I have this like, oh, okay, I'm going to put a fence here. And then I'm like, oh, fuck, there's like a stone and a tree stump in my way. Okay, now where's the fence going to go? And like figuring it out and working around it. And I foresee a lot of that in my future. Mm-hmm.
But also there's other things too. Like when you come back home and your mind is spinning and reeling, because like you can't be at the property 24/7. You got dogs you got to take care of and work. But also like if you're moving in a few weeks, like you got shit at your house you got to handle. You got to donate things. You got to sell stuff. You got to pack your shit. Yeah. Unless you pay somebody to do that. But like, that can be really expensive, right? Like, so yeah, you got to focus on the little tasks that you can control, the things that you can focus on, like your breath or packing.
Yes. I've done a lot of breath work this week because holy shit, I need to breathe.
So one of the things I wanted to touch on with like this concept of fear as well is like, so if you have a fearful dog, right, or a dog that has anxiety around other dogs, even if it's generally confident in other aspects of its life, or you literally have one of those pancake dogs, right, that supposedly was rescued from a meat market or something, right? By the way, a lot of that shit is bullshit and it's just marketing. Just FYI, y'all.
True story.
Not all of it, but a lot of it is. Especially if it's like 20 golden retrievers rescued from a meat market. No, they're not doing purebreds at the meat market. I promise you. Anyways, tangent is, so when you have a plan, when you are consistent with what you do and what you expect from your dog in that moment, even if you have to scale it back sometimes, when you have that foundation there of like, I need you to check in with me, I need you to look at me, or I need you to sit when I ask you to, or whatever it is that you're working on, however you're working through it, that consistency is your human to dog version of a plan, right? You can't tell them, hey, buddy, okay, so what we're going to do, it's going to be a little scary, but I promise you it's going to be totally fine. We're going to go to a store, but we're not going to go inside. Like your dog, you could tell your dog that if you want.
Go for it.
Maybe it'll make you feel better. But you have to show them, right? And you have to do it several times. And that's why if your trainer told you to take it to the next step, whatever it may be, whether it's group class, a field trip, etc., go find a dog to work around and you don't feel like you're ready yet, there's a reason. They do think you're ready, right? Mm-hmm. And if you, and that reason that they think you're ready is because your dog needs it. This is the next step to show your dog that consistency, that plan, that I will always have you. I will always protect you. I know this is really scary, but together we will survive this.
Yeah. I mean, our job is to guide them and help them. So why wouldn't you help them? Help them figure out what a better way to deal with their fear is. Because like there's so many different ways to deal with your fear, right? Like I've chosen to cry quite a bit.
Sometimes you got to let that shit out.
But yeah, and I did it on purpose. I realized, I recognized, I noticed in myself that like it was building up. Mm-hmm. And actually, a funny thing that happened is I almost lost it on a gas station clerk.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, it wouldn't read my card. And so she wouldn't let me have my stuff. And I was like, can't you type it in? And she's like, no, it's a chip card. And I'm like, but I want my stuff. And she's like, well, your card's not working. Do you have anything else? And I'm like, no, I want my stuff. And I got really like my feelings were hurt. And I was like upset at this lady for not, and then I like marched out to my car and I found I had cash and I came and I gave it to her and I took my stuff. And like, I didn't say anything, but like I could feel myself just like bursting at the seams with like rage and like just all of these emotions over this, I mean, pointless situation. Like it wasn't her fault. It wasn't my fault. It was the card wasn't working. There was no way around it. Like, of course she wasn't just going to give me the stuff, and that's not what I wanted. I just wanted that situation not to be so difficult is what I wanted, because I had so much built up in me. And so like I let myself cry it out, you know, and it was ugly, but
but you had to let that shit out.
But I had to let it out, and I got through it, and I'm able to get back to being really excited, and I'm able to laugh at the fact that I got so mad at the gas station lady. So yeah, if you ever find yourself losing it on people that don't deserve it over situations that are relatively pointless, that's a good sign that there's something else going on.
It's not the meatloaf, right? It's not because you burned the meatloaf.
Right.
That your whole life is ruined. It's that layered stress model, right?
Exactly.
And being able to have that self-awareness and ability and maturity, honestly, to know like when you're the problem.
Yep.
So I want us to, I'm not going to put you on the spot, Courtney, but I want us to talk about, to wrap this up, is our biggest fear for our new endeavors. And I'll go first. I won't make you go first.
Thank you.
So you can think about it a little bit. But yeah, so, and then I want to know like kind of what you think your plan going forward is. Like, how are you going to tackle that? Like, what are some things that you're going to do to manage that fear and get through it and just fucking deal with it? 'Cause it's inevitable. So, I obviously already talked about B-Town extensively, so I'm not going to talk about him. But one of my biggest fears is just the total upheaval in my life, right? Like, it's not like having a baby is just going to completely flip my life in 180, but it is going to change a lot of things. And one of my biggest fears is like struggling to adapt to that. Because change is going to happen, right? Like a fucking meteor could fall out of the sky tomorrow, and that's just a change you have to fucking deal with.
I have a bomb shelter.
Do you really on your property?
Yeah.
I think that's the title of the episode. I have a bomb shelter. Dude, that's amazing. Does it come like stocked with things? Are there guns down there?
There's paper towels and
Okay.
a porta
Right.
potty thing, like a
Nice.
little bucket you can poop in.
A bucket. It sounds like prison.
It's got a lid. It's got a lid. I haven't opened the lid because I'm terrified and there's a chair in there.
Oh, a whole chair. Wow.
Mhm. And some candles. I've only been in there once and I didn't
Yeah.
stay in there long.
Yeah.
I was like,
Dude,
oh,
that could
neat.
be Jay's studio. Dude, it's soundproof and like
no,
you can
this
decorate.
is it's terrible.
Oh, it's
you'll see.
scary.
Yeah,
It's a scary bomb shelter. Okay.
Fucking scary.
Oh, it's hilarious. All right. Courtney has a bomb shelter, y'all.
Yeah. So if the meteor falls out of the sky, maybe I'll be okay. I don't know.
Maybe.
If I
you've
get
got
in the shelter.
you've got paper towels, a chair, and a poop bucket. What else do you need? But yeah, so back to the topic. No, that was a hilarious tangent. No need to apologize for that. Yeah, so how I'm going to deal with that fear, that uncertainty. Well, I'm planning for a lot of things. Like I know having a newborn, for instance, is one of the hardest adjustment periods because like it is and it isn't from what I'm learning, because you sort of are just in the weeds. Like you can't sleep, your body needs to rest and recovery. You can't do anything for several weeks anyways. So it's not like that big a deal. It's kind of more like once you're allowed to kind of get back to life and like walk around and pick shit up again. But yeah, basically it's like taking classes and informing myself of like what to expect, and reading a lot and talking to other people who are parents of their experiences. The other cool thing is I also know a shitload of people who like recently just gave birth to their first or second kid. Pat Stewart's wife is pregnant, and I've been like chatting with her a shitload too, because we both like our due dates are literally a week apart. So like I'm going to have a buddy to be able to chat with in the middle of the night when we're up trying to feed our fucking babies. And we're like, I just want to sleep.
That's awesome.
So support network, super important for me. So I have that, and I'm like preparing for that, information and continuing to just learn and seek information. And then just those are probably the two big cornerstones for me. Because it's all going to change a little bit once I'm actually in the thick of it. I'll have new questions and new things. But if I'm already mentally preparing myself for as much as I can, and emotionally preparing myself, I also have a doula who's going to help me postpartum. So like I'll have emotional support. So when I'm 3 days after birth, when my hormones are like down in the gutter and I'm crying over everything, and you'd be like, is this normal? And she's like, yes, sweetie. Your hormones are fucked up.
It's fine. This will pass.
Yes, you did yell at Lee, but that's okay. He still loves you.
Awesome.
So yeah.
So you're afraid of kind of the whole upheaval of everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
And having to keep a baby alive, like that's terrifying. I keep animals alive and I keep other people's animals alive, and that's kind of stressful because it's other people's, but like, CPS kind of frowns on mothers not taking care of their children and sudden abrupt injuries and such. So but from what I hear, like they're just like little rubber bouncy things, so like they'll be fine.
Yeah, everybody, and every time I'm around one, people are like, they're more resilient than you think. Because I'm not very good with babies, and so I'm always like, I don't want to break it, and people are like, nah, it's fine, and I'm like, its head is gonna fall off. It's not fine.
You told me I have to support its head. What do you mean it's fine?
Exactly. I get really nervous.
Don't worry, I won't make you hold my baby unless you
not
want
until
to.
it can hold its own head up.
Okay, deal.
Awesome. After that, I'm really cool with them. Like I think they're pretty neat. But the whole head falling off thing, I'm like, it scares me.
It makes me think of Dumb and Dumber when like the people come to like fuck up their apartment and like kill their birds. And Lloyd's like, our pets' heads are falling off. That's what that made me think of.
I haven't seen Dumb and Dumber in so long.
It's classic.
But I already
El
packed all my
Clasico.
DVDs. Damn.
That's fine. It's fine. I'm pretty sure it's on the internet somewhere.
That's true. And while I still have good internet, maybe I'll use it.
I know, right?
So I'm most afraid of failing. That's probably my biggest thing, is just that my dreams will get ahead of me and I'll shoot myself in the foot somehow and just kind of fall down. And that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. Well, you just bought this big ass property mostly for your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you fail, then you're like, holy shit, I now have this fucking mortgage.
Right. Right.
And all this land I don't know what to do with.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Fear of failure is a scary one. That's a big one for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my big fear. And that can tailspin into many tiny fears of ways I can fail, and things that can happen that could screw me up,
Yeah.
like my dog's getting hurt or, something happening to me.
And it's
like
all your fault because if you wouldn't have bought this property, then this wouldn't have happened.
Exactly. Those kind of things. They eat me up inside. And
so how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with that fear? How are you working through that fear?
I'm learning as much as I can about the property, about the lifestyle I'm getting into.
Knowledge is power, y'all.
Knowledge is power. And also, taking it one day at a time. And also just accepting that some things are out of my control and nature's going to do what nature's going to do. And it's not always pretty, and things die and things end, and that's okay. And if, I go through burnout again, or I don't know, for some reason the business fails or whatever, like, I'll
but
just
what if you succeed?
Exactly.
What if you succeed? I'm just saying.
That is the thought I've been trying to put in my head is, but what if I do pull this off? Like, what if everything does work out? What if it's awesome? What if it's as awesome as I think it can be? And I just take the steps and I take my time and I build it how I want to. And what if I have good ideas? And that's okay. So that's a whole new thought process for me. Brand new. Yeah. So it takes practice to remember it. Mm-hmm. Because that's really scary to think that. And that comes from my own personal shit, my own traumas,
But being mindful is the first part of it,
but
right?
Being mindful is the first part, and I take steps every day to work on it, and I plan on taking more, and I'm just going to be my authentic self. For better or for worse, whatever that is, I am going to sink into it.
Oh yeah.
If it means I end up being a hermit that never mows her lawn and never sees a person again, well, that's what it ends up meaning, guys. But that's not where I'm headed right now. Right now, I'm headed to build this awesome connection to yourself and your dog place, We'll see where I go next.
Hey, at the very least, like, now clients will have to drop dogs off to you. So
yes, I'm actually most excited about that. I drive so far to do lessons and pick up and drop off dogs. And I do it because I've actually been breaking the rules for my HOA. So I don't want clients coming to my house and people starting to wonder, like, how many dogs does she have there in your suburban house on a corner, And so it's like, none. Don't worry about it. But now I live in the country. So, like, you come to me and I'll watch all your dogs. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's exciting. I can't believe we didn't cry, Courtney. We didn't cry.
I almost cried. I fucking swallowed that shit, though. I was like, not this episode. That's for the Patreons.
Yeah, you gotta pay us. Oh,
I wonder how many times we've cried on Patreon.
I don't know. I don't think it's been that many.
That's true.
I don't think we've really cried much. I mean, we've cried together for sure, IRL, but I don't think we've cried on Patreon very much or any of our episodes. Maybe like one or two. I don't know. Either way. But yeah, that's it, y'all. That's all we got. I would tell you to go check out our Patreon.
We should plug ourselves.
Oh yeah.
The people that are listening, like, if,
Yeah.
don't forget, like, we are dog trainers, and we have businesses.
That's
so,
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll no longer be able to follow us here, but if you want to follow us, like, over there on our business stuff, I know I'm gonna have some cool shit.
Courtney's
my-
gonna have way more cool shit than me because like I'm barely keeping up with my Instagram now as it is, but I'll probably come back to it at some point. But yeah, it's gonna be mostly just baby shit for a while, and I'm not posting that to my business page, but it'll probably come back to life at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can go check out Train with Cerberus on Instagram. And then Courtney's is at I Love Your Dog LLC.
Yeah.
Yeah, plug us. But yeah, normally I'd say like go check out Patreon, but we're about to deactivate that shit. If you're a Patreon listener, you'll still have access to it. We're just going to suspend payments, and we can't take new payments since we're technically not putting out new content and stuff. However, that being said, if you were like, oh man, I was going to totally subscribe this month or whatever, if you want to support us or give us like one last little,
You just love us.
you just love us. Yeah. You're like,
Or you've mildly enjoyed this and you want to, slip us a little something.
yeah, you can go to our PayPal. We have at Super Serious Dog Podcast. And I think you can also search it by our Gmail too. So Super Serious Dog Podcast at gmail.com. But yeah, that's it, y'all.
Aw.
I know. It's the
Bye.
end. Bye, everybody. Love y'all. Thank you. Courtney's doing smooches and waves. We should do princess waves.
Wrist, elbow.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for listening. Last jig.